Gavin Newsom this week went to the southern border with Mexico and did a bunch of grandstanding, criticizing Trump for deportations and his proposed fair trade policies. Coming up, I'll give a response to what the governor had to say. And we've got yet another major city in California blaming the voters for the fiscal mismanagement of the politicians. All that and more. I'm Carl DeMaio, chairman of Reform California and California State Representative representing Assembly District 75. This week, Governor Gavin Newsom did a lot of grandstanding. It started with his anti-Trump special session on Monday, and it capped off with an appearance at the southern border here in San Diego, in my district, by the way. Of course, I was not invited to his little dog and pony show. No invitation, because I think he probably knows what I would have said had I been given the microphone. I would have called out Governor Newsom for grandstanding at the border on all issues but the issues that we need to address. So here is a little clip from Channel 10, ABC 10, on the Newsom border visit. Listen in.
Governor Newsom, with the border wall behind him, attacked President-elect Trump's threatened tariffs against Mexico, calling them a 25% tax increase from goods from avocados to cars.
Oh, so he goes to the border to talk about tariffs. And remember, what are tariffs? Tariffs are a weapon that President Trump is using to force countries like China to stop their unfair trade practices. We want fair trade, free trade, obviously, but fair trade. And Trump has been very successful in standing up for American workers, protecting American jobs from predatory trade practices. And of course, the violation of intellectual property rights that a lot of our companies are experiencing with countries like China. And he's been very successful, by the way, in saving jobs, protecting our economy, and yes, while at the same time reducing the cost of living. Okay, when you want to talk about tax increases, Governor Gavin Newsom has no business trying to lecture people on a massive tax increase, because this is a guy that has always supported massive tax increases and has price gouged you across the board on almost everything in your household budget.
And a threat to the $33 billion in trade from Mexico to the United States, America's largest trading partner.
You are being betrayed by these policies. The impact exists now, even before these tariffs have been imposed. No state.
Okay, so Trump's not even in office, and suddenly there's an impact right now for him saying, I will threaten tariffs in order to get free trade, fair trade agreements. I love how he says that somehow you're being betrayed. You know what's the bigger betrayal? The bigger betrayal is a governor who's actually increased your cost of living, giving us the highest cost of living in the nation. This is a guy down there at the border saying, I want to lecture Trump on cost of living. Bitch, please shut your mouth, go to the back of the room, put the dunce cap on, stand in the corner. You have created such a mess here in California on cost of living. You have no place lecturing people on the cost of things. But more importantly, you want to talk about betrayal? You are the governor who supports sanctuary state, taxpayer-funded handouts to illegals. And what that does is it provides an inducement, an incentive for human traffickers, the coyotes and the cartels, to induce and incentivize and to attract people to come across illegally. You're doing that, Governor. You're betraying us. You're putting the interests of illegals first and citizens and taxpayers far, far down on the list. This guy has the audacity to stand there and talk about cost of living and betrayal when he is the epitome of both of those problems.
State more impacted by that, no region more impacted by that. Small businesses that will lose customers, jobs that will be lost.
This is a guy who's imposed all sorts of regulations, like AB 5, all sorts of mandates, shut small businesses down in 2020 for no reason. He has the audacity to say, oh, I'm trying to protect small businesses. You have been presiding over a state that is killing small business, driving those jobs out of our state. Raise the minimum wage. Let's enact many more policies that cost small businesses money. Let's let criminals run roughshod over small businesses and steal their inventory and impose all sorts of costs on them. And then criminalize small business owners when they're trying to defend their stores and their employees. You don't care about small businesses. Again, the dog and pony show, and the media lets them get away with it.
The inflationary impacts on every single one of you, the cost of food that will go.
It's like the devil complaining about sin, okay? That's what we're seeing here.
Up.
Newsom also on the offensive about threats to deport the undocumented, predicting severe damage to agriculture and the housing market.
When you look at farm workers, the last estimate, roughly half are undocumented. Close to 90% have been in the state for years and years and years. They're not going back and forth. Close to 60% have kids. The impacts of mass deportation.
Let's talk about the impacts of taxpayer services to illegals. The Federation for American Immigration Reform puts out an annual report, and it calculates the net cost to taxpayers. The total cost, but also the net cost. Now, what's the net cost? They take the total cost of things like social services, welfare, and then they reduce that by taxes that these individuals do pay. So the Democrats like to say, oh, illegals are paying more into the economy than they take. Well, the Federation for American Immigration Reform report documents penny for penny that that's simply not true. The net cost is $150 billion annually. And of course, California's costs are disproportionately higher because we give out more generous social services and welfare benefits, particularly to the illegals. And then on top of that, you do know that it translates into $10,000 per illegal is what we are paying as taxpayers net for them to be here. So the governor, again, is lying about the net benefit that he says will go away if we actually had a secure border. And so he's criticizing Trump at the border for Trump actually doing the job that the Democrats refuse to do.
On the cost of food in this state, in this nation, are off the charts. This is serious business.
But Newsom said he recognizes elections have consequences and he will extend an open hand, not a fist, to Trump on immigration cooperation.
That's a lie. He has been gunning for Trump since the second Trump won the election in November. The special session that he just called this week, the grandstanding, there's no extension of let's work together. He's weaponized government from day one, even before day one. Trump hasn't even taken office yet.
But will not allow California's National Guard to be used for enforcement with ICE.
Don't fear that the expansion of National Guard is inconsistent with the past practices and policies.
Okay, so that is basically Newsom. What he specifically talked about there was two things. Headline: Newsom announces new plans for National Guard at border during San Diego visit. Now, that headline is a lie. It is grossly misleading, because when you read that, you probably think, oh, this is a good thing. He's doing what Greg Abbott did. He's going to help secure the border. He's sending the National Guard down there. No, let me be clear about what he's doing. He's sending the National Guard down to the border, not to secure it, not to stop illegals from flowing from south to north. He's sending the National Guard down there to protect Mexico. Here it is. Newsom said during a visit to Otay Mesa that CalGuard will work to help detect illicit money and weapons going south into Mexico. He says, I'm worried about things coming from our side into Mexico. I must protect Mexico. Excuse me? They're not protecting us for the flow of illegals. They're not protecting us from the flow of fentanyl drugs and other illicit drugs. All of these, by the way, illegal cigarettes, 90% of cigarettes and vaping products, illegal black market tobacco, which, remember, the Democrats say tobacco is bad for the kids, help the kids. It's coming across the border from the south to the north. He's not doing anything about that. He's not trying to secure the border, not trying to help out Border Patrol do their jobs. Greg Abbott is. Or you want to talk about kids and all the drugs and even the tobacco products that are hurting them illegally coming from China, coming across our border from south to north, not the other way around. Oh, also, why don't we have the governor talk about the sewage hitting our beaches and bays from Mexico? Newsom says, I don't want to declare a sewage crisis. Quote, it would have meant nothing. It would have meant nothing. No, he didn't want to declare a crisis of raw sewage being released by the Mexican government in the Tijuana estuary, which all the water flows north, the tides go north. And that's why the Mexican government, Tijuana, Baja, they don't care about the sewage spills because it doesn't impact their residents. The sewage does not flow south to Rosarito and other beaches in Mexico. It hits our beaches in San Diego. It flows north. So throughout the year, half of the year, we have at least one of our beaches, usually Imperial Beach, sometimes Coronado, sometimes other beaches, closed because of the sewage contamination in the waters from Mexico. They know that we bear the impact. The public health and environmental impacts are American born, but it's their problem. It's their cause. Newsom doesn't care about that. So he's down there saying, what can I do to protect the Mexicans? But what about Mexicans protecting Americans? So the Mexican government is not doing its job. And Gavin Newsom needs to confront them, just as Donald Trump is confronting the Chinese government on not doing its job as it relates to fair trade policies. This guy is going to bat for them, not for us. You want to talk about betrayal? These two items show the betrayal. More worried about what's going down to southern Mexico, across going south to Mexico, than what's coming north. He's using our taxpayer resources to protect them. They're not using their taxpayer resources to protect us. And on sewage, he gives them a pass. It would have meant nothing to declare an emergency. No, if you declare an emergency, apparently this governor thinks he can do a lot of things with a declaration of emergency. I remember 2020, don't you? Such an asshat. Absolutely despicable human being. And he's down there grandstanding on the border. And the media seems to be presenting it as though he's doing something about border security when he's not. Look, at Reform California, we do have a plan to secure the border. Not only is it a federal issue that we have to support President Trump in getting his immigration reforms implemented, and he's going to do that through executive order on day one. But we do have this California Secure Borders Act. If you go to our website, reformcalifornia.org, click under our contract to reform California. Item 7 on the 10-point contract to reform California is the California Secure Borders Act. It does three things. Number one, it combats illegal immigration by repealing the sanctuary state law, which means that our local law enforcement now can cooperate and coordinate with ICE and Border Patrol. Second, it ends taxpayer-funded handouts to illegals for all sorts of things, ranging from welfare to healthcare to housing, travel, and other services, legal services. We shouldn't be paying for their lawyers to sue the federal government to try to stay in this country illegally. Finally, it does require the deployment of the National Guard and cross-deputization of local law enforcement, training for them to work with ICE and Border Patrol, hand in glove, to do the job of securing our border and protecting our communities, our neighborhoods from criminals that shouldn't be here in the first place. I know that this isn't likely to pass the legislature, but we need to build the public outcry for a bill like this. And maybe we put it on the ballot in 2026, just as we did in 2024 with Prop 36, the Make Crime Illegal Again initiative. So this is one of the three that I'm looking at to put on the ballot in 2026 with your help. Check it out at reformcalifornia.org. While you're there, please chip in a contribution. We cannot do any of this work, whether it's bringing you this show every day, challenging Gavin Newsom up and down the state of California and other Democrats that are reckless, helping recruit and support good candidates in each election, or putting things on the ballot like the California Secure Borders Act. I need your help. So chip in a contribution at reformcalifornia.org. Go to that website. That's the contribution button. Finally, I want to call out the bad behavior of the city of San Diego. And again, it's not just the city of San Diego this applies to. This applies to almost any Democrat-run city in the state of California. The headline in our paper this week, quote, facing large deficits after voters reject sales tax hike. San Diego is considering emergency cuts. Deficits totaling $1.5 billion over 5 years are being blamed on rising expenses, sluggish revenues. Rising expenses? Can we say too much spending? Rising expenses seems to suggest that, oh, the city's doing the same thing it was doing last year. It's just that the cost of living is higher. Well, that's true. The cost of living is higher, but no, it's giveaways. It's expansion of government. Reckless fiscal policy, salary hikes and pension spikes. And in San Diego's case, Mayor Todd Gloria and the Democrats gave hundreds of millions of dollars away. All of this deficit, the $1.5 billion over 5 years, completely the fault of Todd Gloria and the Democrats on the city council in San Diego by invalidating a citizens initiative approved in 2012 called the Pension Reform Initiative. I authored it. Voters voted for it and approved it by 2/3 vote. It said that city workers shouldn't get better pension benefits, retirement benefits than the taxpayers that are footing the bill. Saved us hundreds of millions of dollars a year. Todd Gloria and the Democrats lied to a court to invalidate it. Of course, the court, liberal justices, went along with them because these people are corrupt, liars, cheats, and thieves. So in this election, they came to the voters and asked for a tax increase. Reform California led the campaign to defeat Measure E, a 1% citywide sales tax increase. A 1%. That would have given us nearly a 10% effective sales tax rate. I'm old enough to remember when sales tax was 5% in California. Now government wants 10%. Nope. Not a single penny more for you. You corrupt politicians invalidated a citizens initiative that saved hundreds of millions of dollars a year. You caused the fiscal crisis by spending and invalidating a voter-approved initiative. So suck it up, Buttercup. Time to make the cuts. But of course, the media presents it like this. Oh, the voters made the mistake. It was sluggish revenues. We're giving more revenues than ever before to government, and it still can't live within its means. Because the problem has always been spending, not the money you're giving them. Frankly, you're giving them too much money. We have the highest tax rates in the nation. It's not just sales tax, property tax, income tax, the highest tax rates across the board. They don't deserve a single penny more. Again, those are the sorts of things we do at Reform California. So please chip in a contribution on our website if you haven't signed up yet. At the bottom of the website, you put in your first name, last name, email, phone, zip code, subscribe to our growing network that's going statewide. Plus, 84% of you are not subscribed to this channel. Please don't miss an episode. The best way to keep informed, subscribe to this channel and click that notification button. Every day at 5 o'clock, we post a new episode of this show to keep you informed. Until next time, I'm Carl DeMaio, California State Representative and Chairman of Reform California. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. But before you click away, please subscribe to this channel and click that notification button so you get updated when we post new episodes. Plus, like this video and share it with your friends so that we can help spread our message across the state. Reform California with Carl DeMaio is paid for by Carl DeMaio for State Assembly.